How do your services vary depending upon the age of the student?
Well, for me, it most definitely impacts it. With the age level and their ability level, whether they have additional disabilities. For a deaf-blind child with motor impairments, I might start with the resonance board with a toy bar, so they could find things, they're on the board that vibrates, when things are on it, and they could reach out and explore things because they can't get to the things and explore it because they don't have the motor skills to do that. So everything's hanging there, and they could just, reach out. It's always in the same place, so they're learning my body's here, and on that side is always the cups, and the cups are different sizes, but they're cups and they feel the same, and they're the same sizes, but this one is metal and this one's plastic, and this one makes more noise or vibrates more, or whatever it may be, or spoons, or just everyday things hanging on there so they can explore it for themselves, which I wouldn't use for an older child. But we want to make things age appropriate, so even when we're teaching cutting skills or writing skills or whatever it may be, you don't use the same kind of materials, and even though they may be at a lower cognitive level and they're a teenager, you don't want to use, Dr. Seuss or whatever it may be. You want to maybe use a magazine to find the pictures.
The print size changes as they get older. I think it's about third and fourth grade.
Yes.
There's a significant decrease in print size in the books, and that's where a lot of students seem to do okay, and then suddenly they hit those grades and there's a problem.
Right.
And their eyes haven't changed at all, but suddenly the demands visually on them have changed, and there are a number of students that are picked up at that point that are added onto caseloads. Also, I find that there's a shift in terms of the responsibility as a child gets older. Many things are done for the younger child by the teacher of the visually impaired, but as that student gets older, more of the responsibility shifts to the student.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, for example, letting teachers know what their visual condition is, maybe taking responsibility for enlarging their own materials, and
Yes.
how to manage having a reader. And those are things that they can work on as they're going through the public school system, and hopefully when they leave have the skills in order to go into college and be able to take care of their needs with much less assistance than they received before.
How do you help build functional skills for students who are deaf-blind?
I can think of a situation, I can think of many situations, but there's one student who's totally blind, but she's learning Braille, but she's just functional Braille. She's not a fluent Braille reader because she has some developmental delays as well. So she's in there with her Braille writer, 5 times a week or whatever it is, just working on functional Braille words. Well, it's much more practical if you go out into the real world and, her job site, and maybe put some Braille things in her job site that may be more practical for her. Or you could be out, in the little hallway in the table sorting coins all day. But it's not going to mean anything to her unless you do it at her job site. If she's going to be a cashier, to actually be, using it in a functional way, or going to the store and actually, making a purchase. So I mean, there's a lot of important skills that teachers are visually impaired they just teach us skills in isolation, and it's much better if you teach it in a practical situation. And it makes it more fun and meaningful for the student too, because it's kind of boring sitting at the table, just sorting coins or typing Braille words. Back to that scenario. So what we did is she got a job in the school office collecting up the attendance, and so she brailled all the room numbers on there, and every time she pulled one out, then she could check it off. Or I don't know if she checked it off or put it in the correct envelope. She matched the envelope. And so now that Braille skill is functional, instead of just, reading flashcards for 30 minutes.
I do find that there are times, though, that it's good to pull a child aside. There are times I have some students that are very distractible.
That's true.
So I'll use a combination. Some skills working alone, even in a separate room, and then working on those same skills back in the classroom. Sometimes it's the student just at that beginning stage may need to have everybody else away.
It goes back to the needs of the individual student again, where sometimes students are very distractible, and we have pull out, and there's appropriate times for pull out where I may be teaching a specific VI only skill, whether it be using a magnifier or CCTV or some new device, a topic dictionary or something. But I try to do a lot of my stuff push in, where I work in the classroom and reinforcing what their curriculum is and just putting the vision adaptations to it. That's the most practical.
Also, when you're working in that way, the other students are seeing what's going on and are learning something about that child's visual impairment.
Very true.
And have a greater understanding about that, what that child can see and what the child can't see, and can be much more sensitive to the needs of that child.
And that the student can do something. When they're just doing it with me, they don't see the student actually being able to do something. A lot of times they come back, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And so that's kind of nice for this other students to do. And it's a very much of a confidence builder if we do it in isolation first sometimes, and then they can implement it in the classroom. It just depends on the student. To add on to that, not only asking the other VI teachers, I'm trying to do this and it's not working, what have you tried, but asking the consumers themselves, or asking old, adult deaf-blind students or something. I'm like, I'm trying to work with this deaf-blind student, I don't know what to do. Can you give me suggestions? Or asking their parents, and just asking a lot of questions. I'm a good question asker.
How do you make use of consultants?
Technology, my weakness. And so California School for the Blind have some fantastic fellows there that do technology assessments, because that's not my area of expertise by any means. And that way, I have a student right now that is, like I said, has Stargardt's and is learning Braille, but his needs are kind of exceeding my knowledge base. And so they came out and did an assessment, and so they helped me redo the computer so that the cursor is bigger and the icons are bigger, and we're going to be implementing Zoom text. And so I may call somebody from School for the Blind, or maybe the VI teacher saying, or my Braille transcriber say, I need help, and they'll come in and help me do those adaptations. And then I take lots of copious notes, so I'll have the information for next time.
Yeah, using other people. We use a lot of people on our staff.
Yes.
That we go back, hey, I'm having a problem with this. Help. What have you run into this situation? What have you done? Very important. We get a lot of information from each other.
Yeah.
So much.
And I just brought in other consumers or visually impaired or deaf-blind adults to meet my students too. If they're thinking about getting a guide dog, I'll bring somebody with a guide dog in. If they're thinking about learning Braille and they're resistant, I might bring somebody in that wished that they had learned Braille when they were in school and didn't, or maybe I'll have them teach a few Braille lessons. When you're working with other therapists, when you're working with the speech therapist, you're learning about speech stuff. When you're working with OTPT, you're learning about different things, and you kind of put things together. I learned a lot of stuff through California Deaf-Blind Services and different organizations, and you just have to get out there and ask a lot of questions and try stuff. And if it doesn't work, then you try something else. And I've had to try a lot of stuff.